Welcome in to another video. Today we got Sports with Schu's top 10 2023 wide receivers. This is still pre-combine, but post Senior Bowl, post Shrine Bowl. Definitely some movers from the Senior Bowl, especially not really the Shrine Bowl. One guy did go to the Shrine Bowl, but didn't really make any impact on my rankings. This is not Charger specific. This is in general my top 10 receivers as of now. I've thought about this a lot. I'm still torn on a couple, but I will get into those. Starting in at number 10, I have Mr. Rashee Rice. So I watched his game versus Navy, which was one of the only ones I had access to. So Navy obviously does some crazy stuff, but I also watched him at the Senior Bowl, and he is a good contested catch guy. He's good at the catch point. He has strong hands, but he only has okay speed. All I could really gather from the Navy game, he's an okay route runner. He's a plus athlete, but he's definitely not insane in any regard. Decent top end speed, but it could have just been because they were playing Navy, but it didn't look like he was necessarily giving 100% every single rep. He did have some very, very nice blocks. Him more so than anybody I can think of off the top of my head has some of those George Pickens level blocks in the run game, and really, if somebody behind him is getting a screen, just that level of aggressiveness and intensity, but it wasn't very sustained. He is 6'2", 203 pounds. He's pretty old. I do my ages as like 22.8, and I tried to do it as of right now-ish. Some of the guys I did closer to the draft, how old they'll be, but it's all roughly the same. My prediction is going to be high 4.4s, maybe low 4.5s in terms of 40. And then I just want to touch really quick on my 11, 12, 13. So 11, as of right now, I would have Jaden Reed. He did not make the list. He did have a very good Senior Bowl, though. He is also pretty old, 22.8, but he has good speed. I think high 4.3s-ish. He's pretty shifty. Short, but he's got a good frame, 6 foot, 185. That's really not even that short for nowadays. He isn't afraid of contact, but he's pretty decent at avoiding it, which that's a big theme, a big difference in a lot of receivers. Some smaller receivers seek out contact when they probably shouldn't be, and that's something that they need to change at the NFL level. Some bigger guys should be seeking contact, but are kind of afraid of it and avoid it. And then there's the in-betweens. But number 12, I had Trey Palmer. He's 21.8 years old. He's, from LSU to Nebraska, he's, as of right now, really just a straight line guy, probably going to be low 4.3s, possibly high 4.2s, track guy, 6 foot, 179. And then as of right now, I have Cedric Tillman at 13, okay speed, mid 4.4s, high 4.4s, good contested catch, okay after the catch, 6'3", 216. But I just want to shout those guys out because with combine performances, there's a chance that they hop into my top 10 later on. But moving on to my number 9, I have Josh Downs. So I'm actually going to be lower on Josh Downs compared to, I guess I haven't really looked at a lot of lists since the Senior Bowl. He has kind of just been dropping. Originally, he was, I want to say, a top of the first, middle of the first type guy, but for me, he's dropped down to a 4th round type of guy. He's surprisingly good at contested catching. He is 5'10", 174, so okay frame, somewhat similar to a Zay Flowers. That's sort of right when the season ended, him and Zay Flowers were sort of lumped into the same category a little bit in terms of short, but had that dynamic ability a little bit with the ball in their hands, some unique movement skills. But he just has good speed, not great speed. Low 4.4s guy. He has okay run after the catch, but he's not a tackle breaker. So opposite of, I mean, Drake London from last year, dudes just bounced off of him for some reason. He's a very big guy, but he wasn't the best at avoiding tackles. Josh Downs has the ability to make some guys miss, but he's not a great tackle breaker. But a plus side was that he was used in a variety of ways, coming out of the backfield, in the screen game, in motion, ran a somewhat diverse route tree. And then seeing a guy of his size have such success in contested catches is always a good thing, because even, I mean, ideally you can separate at the next level, but if you can't, having that contested catch ability on your tape is always a plus. Number 8, I have Parker Washington, and he rose for me, and he's still probably going to rise even more. I really, really like Parker Washington. He's one of the youngest guys in this class. I have him at 20.9, so he's not even 21 yet. Not sure if he's going to be 21 by the draft. He's probably a 4 or 5 guy, but he has phenomenal hands. Very good route runner. He returned punts. He is strong at the catch point, and he's very good after the catch. This dude, I mean, it's tough to compare him and Jackson Smith-Njigba, in my opinion. Yes, Jackson Smith-Njigba has a little bit more of a proven track record, but Parker Washington's really young. He's 5'10", 212, so that's a phenomenal frame. He is probably going to be a slot-only option, but I don't see how this dude doesn't come into the NFL and establish himself as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 immediately, who is reliable, smart, good hands, good run after the catch, strong, and I mean, I'm going to have a Charger-specific video coming out probably the day after that you guys are watching this, but if they move on from a guy like Keenan Allen, I think Parker Washington, with how young he is and his skill set, I'm thinking Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a little bit better of a comparison for a guy later on this list, but Parker Washington, not going to kill you with his speed, but one of my favorite receivers in this draft. At number 7, we have Jalen Hyatt. I'm also a little bit lower than a lot of people on Jalen Hyatt. He's 21.4 years old, 6 foot 185. He is fast. He is going to be in the high 4.2s probably. He will not get caught in a straight line. But from the games that I was able to see, he did play LSU, so I did get to see him in person as well, which wasn't too fun. But he doesn't have that much of a route tree. It was sort of them putting him in stack formations or in motion or in the slot. Anything that they could do to get him off the press coverage, get him a free release, because if he gets a running start against even a corner, but most of the time they would try and get him matched up against either a linebacker or a safety. If he gets a free running head start, he's gonna pass them, and they will not be able to catch up to him, which happened a lot this year. NFL teams are gonna be able to plan for that and expect that a little bit better than in college. he is obviously fast, and so like he has a good run after the catch, because if he has to put one move on a guy, he can. If he has to make a slight cut, but really, if you get the ball in his hands and somebody takes a bad angle, he is still a threat to take it to the house, which is valuable, but he's not going to be a tackle breaker, nor is he very physical throughout the route or while the ball is in the air. Um, that's I'm trying to think of who it was. I think it was Alec Pierce last year, which this is sort of a cold take because he ended up having an okay year, but I just didn't think Alec Pierce tracked the ball very well in the air or wasn't very physical throughout the route and at the catch point. Jalen Hyatt's not going to be a contested catch jump ball guy, in my opinion. If he developed that sort of a Tyreek Hill physicality in terms of what you want to see from a deep threat receiver, that could add a lot to his game. But as of now, he's sort of a one-trick pony, if you will. And I'm going to move this down here. At number 6, I have Tank Dell. Huge riser from the Senior Bowl. 23.3 years old. He is on the older side, one of the older receivers I have on this list. He's probably going to run in the mid 4.3s. He's 5'8", 163. That is small, that's short, that's thin as well. But the dude just could not be guarded at the Senior Bowl or on tape. Possibly the best route runner in this class. He has the same Zay Flowers level of jitter. He has a very, very good feel for the position. Good after the catch, but not at breaking tackles, obviously. If somebody gets their hands on him, you're probably going to be able to bring him down. But if you can get your hands on him, I didn't really see any contested catches, but opposite of Josh Downs, I think it's literally only because he was always wide open. He also returned punts as well, but I mean, this dude's probably going to end up going in the second round, and I just don't see how. Yes, he's going to have so many questions asked about his weight, about his frame, but this dude just gets open at will. Like, phenomenal release package, phenomenal throughout the route, and you just can't get your hands on him. He's not necessarily a Devontae Smith type. I don't really have a comparison written down. Some people like to talk. You guys probably just saw a really bad edit. I was dying, needed some water. But Tank Dell, going to be a lot of questions about his frame. There have been some remote comparisons to Tutu Atwell in terms of the frame and questions about that. Huge difference though. Tutu Atwell is more of a Jalen Hyatt type of straight line speed only. Yeah, they used him a little bit with a little bit more variety at Louisville, but Tank Dell was truly a dominant number one receiver at Houston, and even in the red zone, dude just gets open at will. That is the most valuable thing in the NFL. He has good hands, and I mean, you can put him on the outside, yeah. Some corners might be able to shut him down, but I mean, they have yet to do it. Nobody could at the Senior Bowl. Absolutely nobody. Nobody could on tape. So he's also probably going to have a really good combine. He's probably not going to be able to bench that much, but Tank Dell, take him late second round. I would be happy, depending on, I mean, if I'm trying to think of a team, maybe the Packers even. If you have a Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, yeah, you have some deep threats, but guys who can separate, who you can trust to get open at certain times, run routes that are quarterback friendly, you're going to want Tank Dell. Number 5, Jackson Smith and Jigba, like I said, I'm a little bit lower on Jackson Smith and Jigba than most people. A lot of people have him as their wide receiver one. Um, I personally, I see him sort of like an slightly less athletic Amon-Ra St. Brown, which Amon-Ra St. Brown's a phenomenal player, but I don't think that there's a huge gap between Parker Washington and Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's 21, slot only, it seems. That's all he really played in college, but I know like guys like Justin Jefferson, Kayshon Boutte, they also played only in the slot, but they sort of, once they got to an elite level, then they moved into the slot. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba has always only played in the slot. Um, he's a very good route runner. I'm thinking low 4.5s. Pretty good after the catch, but not a great tackle breaker. He's good in traffic. I watched him versus Penn State in 2021. He runs a good route tree. He seems smart. He always comes back to the ball and is quarterback friendly. That's something I would like to touch on about Tank Dell as well. So quarterback friendly on breaks. Even if he had separation right off the break, he would come back to the ball to either extend or just maintain that distance, which is something that Jackson Smith and Jigba does as well. He has good short area quickness, but pretty poor long speed, and he was a little bit taller than I thought. I don't remember which website this was, but it had him listed at 6'1", 201. So that's, decent height. Just doesn't have the long speed, and I guess doesn't have the release package to play on the outside. They just didn't really use him there. At Ohio State, they did also have Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, to be fair, last year. But if he could, an Amon-Ra St. Brown role is where that's sort of his ceiling in my eyes, personally. Number four. Wow. Well, as I try and get this, I'm just going to start talking about my number four. I have Kayshon Boutte. He is 20.7 years old, so not even 21. Yeah, this thing just really doesn't want to work. There we go, I think. He, just going to touch on, he does have some character concerns. The stuff about him wanting to come, not even necessarily wanting to come back, but planning, saying that he was saying that he was going to come back to LSU for his senior year, and then on some trip, something happened with some personnel, male and female, on the LSU staff. Have no idea if that's true, but I do also go to LSU and have heard some stuff about him just not being the greatest person in general. But that doesn't take away the fact that he was an extremely productive freshman and sophomore wide receiver at LSU. He didn't play that much this year, and he had some big-time drop concerns this year, but when healthy, for the first 2 years of his career while he was 18 and 19 years old at LSU, he showed good speed, low 4.4s, very good route running, very good after the catch. Dude just has a nose for the end zone. He had some success on the outside and in the slot, but the drop concerns did show up this year. 6 foot, 205. Kind of an all-around skill set, though. Outside of my number one guy, if I had to put money on a receiver in this class becoming a true wide receiver one for an NFL team, I would have to put money on Kayshon Boutte. He did have the most preseason hype, kind of, or pre this season hype in college. He was supposed to go top 5, top 10. Didn't really put it all together. He did also have a kid this year, and he's just had some off-field stuff. But if he can get that sorted out, start progressing on that track that he was on freshman, sophomore year, he could be a very productive wide receiver one in the NFL. He doesn't have the same athleticism as Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, but he does. He is close to them in terms of just receiver ability, getting open, feel for when the ball is in the air, route running, and he's one of the biggest boomer busts. I mean, he could be out of the NFL in 2 years, or he could be a wide receiver one, top 10 receiver in the league in 2 years, in my opinion. At number 3, I have Mr. Zay Flowers. He's 22.4 years old, so a little bit on the older side, but he is extremely sudden, a very good route runner. I'm thinking mid 4.3s in terms of speed. He has very good ball skills. He's physical for his size. He can shake some tackles, but he is just so jittery, similar to Tank Dell, but possibly a little bit more so. He's a little bit stockier. He's 5'9", 182, which is, I mean, that's still thin. That's still small. Compared to Tank Dell, he's a little bit stockier. He showed a very diverse route tree as well. Very, very diverse. He was used in a lot of different ways. You know, coming out of the backfield, screen game, motion, but ran so many different routes and got open so often. Dudes just could not handle his level of speed in and out of breaks and his ability to create separation. Mike Renner said that it seems like he gains speed when he makes his breaks or when he cuts, which, I mean, that's not true, but it kind of looks like it's true, just because when you look at him compared to the DB as he breaks, it seems like he doesn't lose any speed, while the corner has to break down and adjust and try and react to it. Zay Flowers just has a different level of dynamism. Dynamism? I don't know. But I watched 2021 versus Clemson. He did struggle with contact at the top of the route, and he did slip twice at the top of his route while trying to break. I think that was either 1, the field, 2, he truly does just struggle with contact at the top of his routes, or 3, he does need to reel in his athleticism a little bit. He was sort of I don't know what the best animal to use a comparison would be, but I mean, dude's just juiced up, twitched up, like, to an unbelievable amount, and he almost has to learn how to control that a little bit at the top of his routes. He was just trying to stop so suddenly that he slipped a handful of times. But I mean, Zay Flowers, for good ball skills, pretty good hands, he had some very, very good catches, some very, very good reps of tracking the ball as well. I think that he can be used in all 3 levels of the field: behind the line of scrimmage, in the screen game, short routes, getting him open in the intermediate across the middle of the field. He showed a lot of that at Boston College. I don't think he's going to be a big over the middle of the field guy in the NFL, but he did show that at Boston College. And then in the deep part of the field, definitely has some good tracking abilities. And then, I mean, he's going to run mid 4.3s. He's going to be able to take the top off and get behind a good amount of guys in the NFL as well. Number 2, I have Jordan Addison. A lot of people compare him to Devontae Smith or make rough comparisons to Devontae Smith. I see more of a slightly skinnier Chris Olave who's a little bit better after the catch, in my opinion. He's 21. He is younger than I was expecting. He's got good speed. I think low 4.4s. He is a very good route runner with a very diverse route tree. He was used in a variety of ways. He's 6', 174, and truly a pretty important thing is that he won the Blitnikoff at Pitt last year, I think it was, and then he transferred to USC. Yes, he had a pretty good quarterback at both locations, but he's produced significantly for 2 years in college, possibly his freshman year as well. I haven't even seen his stats, but across 2 different offenses, he has shown to be a very reliable wide receiver one with plus athleticism and an ability to separate. He's not going to have the same straight line speed as Chris Olave, but I mean, I don't think Chris Olave had crazy straight line speed. Like, he did not run a 4.29 or whatever it was. Chris Olave was more of a mid 4.3s to high 4.3s, and that's pretty close to where Jordan Addison is going to be. He's probably going to be low 4.4s, but I see some similarities. Chris Olave was played a little bit more scared of contact after the catch. Jordan Addison, he's a little bit more dynamic with the ball in his hands after the catch. I mean, it's tough if I was comparing those two head to head, who in terms of who I would take. They both produced significantly. Yeah, that one is tough, but that is probably my closest comparison. Number one for me, pretty much a no-brainer, Quentin Johnston. He is 21.4, decently young, but he is extremely sudden for somebody of his size. He's 6'4", 216, probably the best frame of any of these guys on this list at least. There are some other guys, I mean, in college who have a good frame as well, but 6'4", 216, long arms, very good top-end speed, very underrated top-end speed. His top-end speed I would put up against nearly anybody on this list other than Jalen Hyatt. He's not going to run the fastest 40. Like, his 40 probably won't be as fast as a Zay Flowers, maybe even a Tank Dell. I'm thinking high 4.3s, maybe low 4.4s. I think high 4.3s though. But once he gets going, and he gets going pretty quick, you're not really going to catch him once he gets going. He's very good after the catch. He's a hands catcher, which I do like, but he did have a couple of drops, and he's not the dominant guy at the catch point. He's no Mike Williams. It's no 80-20 ball when the ball's in the air. It's more 70-30. I mean, he does still have the significant size advantage most of the time. He's decent route running, but didn't really see a very diverse route tree there at TCU. I watched 2021 versus Oklahoma State, and it was not a great quarterback situation. He literally either ran a go, handful of crossers, or they just got the ball in his hands on a screen or a jet sweep or something. He had a drop on a deep ball. It just seems like he's a crazy athlete with a crazy ceiling. But he either just hasn't put it all together yet, or TCU limited him significantly because, I mean, especially in 2021 and 2022 with Max Duggan, they had a big year, but this dude hasn't had a great quarterback yet. And 6'4", 216, who's going to run probably high 4.3s, going to jump out of the gym for sure, has long arms, has shown, I mean, receiver ability, the ability to attack the ball in the air, yes, those drop concerns a little bit. But I think that he's going to be an underrated route runner coming into the league. He didn't show it on tape, but he wasn't asked to. With his level of athleticism, I think that, I mean, learning from really any veteran on almost any team, even just ask him to run simple slants, develop his release package a little bit. I think that he has all the tools in the world to do that, and in a class like this, I don't think anybody has the tools that he does. So combining pretty decent production with that frame, that level of athleticism, I think that he's the highest percent chance to be a wide receiver one in the NFL. In terms of where I think he could go, I mean, a lot of people are taking Jackson Smith and Jigba first off the board. Some people are taking Jalen Hyatt, Jordan Addison. I would take Quentin Johnston off the board first. Maybe not top 10, but close to top 10. Really around that 10 area. I expect 4 to 5 receivers. I expect 4 receivers to go in the first round. People are kind of hating on this receiver class a little bit. I do agree that the meat of it is going to be round 2, round 3, and I think it's going to be a strong round 2, round 3 draft for receivers, but it doesn't have that Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave level at the top, and that wasn't even a great class in my opinion. But when you have the Jamar Chase, the Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith from the year prior, that's hard to contend with. 2020 was just a special draft in general, but I think these guys are going to go, and I mean, hopefully the Chargers can get some of them, but we're also definitely going to see a lot of immediate producers from this class. Parker Washington, Jalen Hyatt, maybe more of a one-trick pony, but he can do it very, very well. Tank Dell, if used correctly, if he has a decent quarterback, he's going to produce. Jackson Smith and Jigba, everybody loves. Kayshon Boutte, boom or bust, but hopefully he booms. Zay Flowers, electric athlete. Jordan Addison, very, very reliable, very productive, going to translate to the NFL. Quentin Johnston, highest percent chance to become a wide receiver one. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of my top 10 list. Let me know your guys' thoughts of this receiver class post Senior Bowl, pre-combine. And I will see you guys in the next video.